All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, October 23rd. We have just two NBA games to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games, so both of them. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, guys, we got a little trigger happy because it was night one of the NBA. It wasn't the worst night in the world. We did have more losses than wins, so we can own that. But man, oh man, I'm sitting there and I'm like Oprah with these plays yesterday. I'm like, you gotta pick, you gotta play, you gotta, man, oh man. I look back at it and I was like, we have like 14 plays tonight. What are you doing, Ev? But hey, price of admission, had a blast with the first full slate of the NBA season last night. And yeah, I wish we could have got some of these back, but you know what? You don't get do-overs in this industry. We'll try to be a little bit more cautious there. I will say we had a couple nice plus money cashes. Jalen Suggs over 12.5 points plus assists. We got for plus 152 during the video yesterday. I think it closed at like minus 115, and he blew that away, so I was really proud of that look. The Jalen Johnson look was good as well. That Middleton and Kuzma revenge parlay, that was nice, but like I said, guys, we did have some bad looks. The Clippers, oh my God, get smoked by the Jazz. We had them in two parlays. We also had, you know, the Pelicans and Grizzlies under. Felt like a contrarian there. And by the game's end, I was like, well, I just feel like an idiot now. But nonetheless, guys, I am so happy that the NBA season is back. We only have two games to dive into today. Let's go ahead and do so. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, before we do get into the games, I got to say the ride of the day. We had the winner 2 days ago, didn't submit a pick yesterday, so the ride of the day is up for grabs. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to roll and ride with your plays and you go on a little bit of a streak and build up some channel cred over here at Guy Boston Sports. So go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. All plays have to be inside minus 150 to count. But let's dive into game number one here. We got the Pacers making their season debut going up against the Thunder. This is now their second game of the season. Little finals rematch here, huh? We got the Pacers at home getting 7.5 points. That total at 230.5. I've already seen some places bump this thing up to 231.5, so that's obviously worth noting. Now, this Thunder squad ends up pulling out a win in double overtime in that first game against Houston. And I think Houston showed us that they are a pretty decent team, but a lot of what we thought about the Thunder just from a year ago did come through, right? Shea's going to be ball dominant. We know that. They'll be decent enough at protecting the paint, especially when it counts. We know that. So it is good to see some of these things kind of carry over to the next season, making it, I guess, a little bit easier on our end, not having to guess to see if they changed their identity or anything like that, right? I will say, I think they attempted like 53s, but again, you have to remember this is a double overtime game. Now, the Pacers come into this one, obviously, with no Tyrese Halliburton, but I guess that can be canceled out to some degree with no Jalen Williams on the other side of things. We also have Cason Wallace and Lou Dort as questionable in this spot as well. Still no Alex Caruso, no Isaiah Joe or Kendrick Williams. So tons of injuries in here. If I had to, and I think this could be a close game and could being the key word there, but if I had to pick a side, I do think the Thunder are the far better team, and I do think that this is a very good Shea spot. Nembhard, Mathurin, Nesmith, Siakam, Jackson, that's a lineup that I think Shea can carve up, so I do think that he leads the Thunder to a victory today. I admit, against a home opener in sort of a revenge spot, it's not exactly the easiest spot here for the Thunder whatsoever, right? Especially after playing a double overtime game a couple days ago and now having to travel to Indiana. So I am going to lean Thunder, but it's a pretty narrow lean in a sense, just given the fact that, you know, it is a tough situation. And it's hard to have a tough situation this early in the year, but it's like everything's kind of aligned for Indiana. You know, they have their revenge, they're at home, it is their home opener, and the Thunder are coming off of a double overtime game. Now, it's not back-to-back, but still. In terms of what we have from a total perspective here, I like the idea of an under. I've been liking unders a lot so far this NBA season, and it's been kind of hit or miss, right? Now, the one thing I will say, in that first game, OKC and the Thunder, we had the under in that game, and it was cruising to the under. It did go to double overtime, but obviously, that's going to affect some things. I believe in both overtimes combined, there's like 40-something points scored, so it was well under. I liked our read there. The Thunder seemed well happy to go out there and play half-court basketball. Now, was it the Rockets that were kind of forcing them to play half-court basketball? That's a question that, is worth asking. But overall, I don't necessarily see where the offensive efficiency would come from on the Pacers side of things. Unless they truly just run, which they are well capable of, I don't see where that efficiency comes from. Now, this was a team without Halliburton that obviously looked like they needed him. Well, guess what? They're in that exact same situation, right? And they run a ton of isolation. Obviously Halliburton's a big part of that. And we didn't even mention no Miles Turner anymore. This is a really, really good isolation defense in OKC. Granted, and you guys know there's a lot of give and take here at the beginning of the year. I make a point, I'm like, well, there is this little crack in the foundation, right? Because Lou Dort's questionable now and Alex Caruso is out, two of the better defenders on the team. But they also run a ton of pick and roll on the Indiana side of things. Guess what? You have the number 2 team from a year ago in both effective field goal percentage and score percentage defending that pick and roll. Okay, well, what else do they do a decent amount of? Some pull-up jumpers. Okay, well, you have one of the better defenses in the league in the Thunder at stopping the pull-up jumper. So I just don't really see where any sort of efficient offense builds on this Pacers side of things. So I'm going to lean towards the under 230.5. From a player prop perspective, guys, jumping into the outlier screen, if you want to check it out, link down below, 7-day free trial. I like Shea over 38.5 points plus assists. In game number 1 of the season, from an assist perspective, I believe he finished with, 5 assists. Yeah, I'm looking for him to get a few more than that as this team collapses on him. You could say 47 minutes, didn't hit his assist line, but did come through in with a pretty decent scoring night in that game number 1, and that was a really tough defense. I do think that he has a little bit easier of an assignment here, and from a points perspective, yeah, maybe Indiana kind of stopped him last year, but how about this? The assists, boom. 2 of the last 3 games against them in the finals, he had double-digit assists. So give me one really good scoring game or one really good assist game, and I think the floor that we have from Shea, whether it's points or assists, can kind of cover. You can see in his last, 10 games against Indiana, 9 games against them, he's averaging 38.3 in the first game of the year. Again, he did hit this. You can get it at 38.5 right now. So I do like Shea to have a good game in here. In terms of another spot I'm looking at, a potential look for some serious plus money, plus 136 right now, Pascal Siakam to make 2 threes. He did in 3 of 4. And I know when I say head to head and I'm looking back at it, it's like, this is obviously NBA Finals we're talking about here. It's a little bit different, but I do think that there is some, correlation we could draw to this game due to the fact that this is still a very good Thunder paint team. I mentioned that earlier on the defensive end, right? Well, Pascal Siakam, we saw Alpi Şengün hit 5 threes. We saw Jabari Smith hit 2 threes. Kind of a correlated, player there, I guess, in a sense. Kevin Durant didn't hit any, but again, a really good paint D with Holmgren, Hartenstein down there. I think Siakam might say, hey, let me hang outside the perimeter. I've worked on my 3-point shot, as all reports have said. And, for plus 136 doesn't seem too terrible. Don't mind him scoring 20 points either. You can see a year ago, he hit this in 52% of games. Games without Tyrese Halliburton, 67% of games. So, yeah, don't necessarily mind the spot for him to have a decent scoring night. The problem is he hasn't exactly had the best of scoring overall, I guess, to get that 20-point number when going up against OKC. Now, if we say he's going to play 30-plus minutes, which obviously we expect him to, it does look a little bit better, averaging 20 points per game against them. So those are 2 player prop spots that I'm liking in this game. Let's go ahead and move into game number 2. Guys, before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about Underdog because they have an awesome deal right now. And I don't know how long they'll be offering this deal for because it is kind of psycho to me. So you better go take advantage of it. You can play $5 right now. Place a $5 lineup, right? You get $100 in bonus funds right away. What? $5, turn it into 100. Are you kidding me? Go race to the pinned comment, race to the description, click the link, sign up for Underdog today. Again, $5 gets you 100. You're also going to get a gimme pick upon deposit as well for new customers. So you get a free square there. You could probably use that in the $5 lineup as well, and you're off to the races. Go check it out, guys. Do not be looking back at this deal in a month or so being like, man, I'm signing up now. I wish I signed up with that offer, because this is one of the best I've ever seen. Check it out, guys. Again, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's get to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we got the Warriors taking on the Nuggets. Warriors are 1-0 on the season. They win that game number 1 against the Lakers on the road, 119 to 109. The Nuggets season debut here on the road. Right now, Warriors 2.5-point favorites total, all the way up at 232.5. I think I've seen this thing as high as 234. So yeah, that's worth keeping in mind when we take a peek at this total. Now, in game number 1 for this Warriors squad, I don't necessarily think it was all that great of a Steph day. It was more so a Jimmy Butler day, right? He had 31, 5, and 4. Looked pretty damn good, right? So I do give Jimmy Butler a lot of credit there. I think he also had either a steal or a block, something like that. Steph finished 23 points, just 4 assists. He was 3 of 9 from 3. What I will say, as the game went on, Steph kind of found his footing a little bit more. I mean, I think he had like 3 points after the first quarter, something like that. Now, on the other side of things, the Nuggets, it is worth noting that this is a Nuggets team that's a little bit different than last year. Cam Johnson in place of Michael Porter Jr. for all intensive purposes, but they are fairly healthy in terms of what they have right now. Starting lineup: Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. On the other side of things, Melton, Moody, Tooney, all still out for Golden State. Curry, Podziemski, Butler, Kuminga, and Draymond is going to be the starting lineup there. Where do we come out on a side here? Part of me, like, I do think the Warriors are actually, at least from what I saw in game number 1, better than I thought. And we did lean Warriors, right? But I do think that they're better than I thought defensively still. I was kind of thinking, this team's a little bit old. Like, how good defensively will they be? They surprised me. They made some really good stops and really tough stops in that game number 1. Now, I think that they are in a decent enough spot here against the Nuggets to be able to hit the threes as well, so maybe we have a Steph game on our hand. I guess what I'm saying is I do think that this Warriors team still has a slight edge over the Nuggets in terms of scheme and talent-wise. The thing to note, though, is the Warriors, last time they met the Nuggets, they won 118 to 104. Like, the 8 or 9 times before that, the Nuggets had won. So do the Nuggets just have this Warriors number? Perhaps. But ultimately, I do think the 3 ball is going to be a problem today. Hoping that the defense down low holds up for Golden State, because this is a Denver team, and no shocker with, Jokic down there, was the team in the league that led the league in restricted area field goal attempts per game just a year ago. So from a frequency standpoint. But outside of that, they run a decent amount of isolation. And guess what? The Warriors, 8th in the league last year in terms of effective field goal percentage in the isolation defensively, and pick and roll. We know that that's something that Denver will often turn to. I'm not worried about the Golden State pick and roll defense and the ability to switch, right? From Butler, Kuminga, and Green, they have their 3, 4, 5, all that can still move laterally and everything like that. So I do think, if Jokic doesn't go nuclear in this spot, the Warriors have a pretty decent edge there. So I'm going to lean towards the Warriors. I don't mind the idea of the Nuggets team total under. Again, the first thing that I mentioned was what? I think this Golden State team surprised me defensively. Now, I didn't think that they were going to be a bad defense or anything like that. But in terms of how they played and how they got out of some situations against that Lakers squad, I really did, I really came away impressed. And right now you can get this Nuggets squad, I believe it's like under 122 and a half, 120 and a half. Right now you can get there under. Don't necessarily mind it. I mean, yes, this is playoffs, so keep it in mind in a lot of these numbers against OKC, but they've hit the under in 8 of their last 10 games. They hit the under in 52% of games last year and 54% of road games. And when they've played this Golden State team, you can go back to, last year, and they had 119, 114, 104. I don't mind them not scoring, 121, especially in a season opener. In fact, now this is a little skewed because obviously the Nuggets got really good at a certain time, but if you go back to 2014, there's only been one game, and it was the 2020 season in which they hit the over here and they scored 122. So again, that is a little muddy just due to the fact that, you know, the Nuggets right around that time, like the 2014 Nuggets were not the Nuggets that we're looking at today, right? So I can admit that. But facts are facts, and it helps that is on our side to some degree. If we were looking at their game logs in terms of season openers and they'd been like 130, 130, 130, I'd feel a little bit scary. So at least that checks out a little bit there, right? So give me the Warriors, but that Nuggets team total under. I don't think the Warriors win this one unless they are making stops. I really don't. If this is going to be a shootout, no pun intended, with the Warriors shooting threes, I think that means Jokic and Murray are both having really, really good games. And one thing to note, Warriors, kind of a soft spot at the restricted area. Not soft, I wouldn't say, but I don't know if they can handle Jokic size-wise. I'm hoping they keep him kind of out of there, so that's a soft spot. And then in the mid-range is arguably their worst defensive zone. Jamal Murray likes the mid-range. So if those guys are getting to their spots, we could have some trouble here. Let's get into some player props because we do have a handful of them in this game. Now, guys, I'm trying to be disciplined out here. I'm not going to degen out like I did in game number 1. In fact, if you're watching this far into the video, go ahead and comment degen, D-E-G-E-N, spelling bee champ. Comment degen if you made it this far in the video. I'm going to try and be disciplined, but you guys know me. You've been watching for years. If you haven't, sometimes we do some crazy things. I have right now 6 player prop spots in this game that I like. I cannot look at a 2-game slate and have 6 player props in one game. So let's go through them. Let me know which one you guys think is sound and sound reasoning, and maybe we can kind of sharpen this blade a little bit instead of just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. First one, I mentioned it, Jamal Murray. You could see via our dashboard here, Golden State last year, almost a 50% field goal percentage to the mid-range. That is obviously Jamal Murray's go-to spot. The problem is, I mean, his last game against Golden State, just 12 points, right? Nothing all that phenomenal. So get a little concerned about that. But I do think that he's going to have a ton of usage this season. And what I think is that this team, now Jokic is obviously phenomenal, and we know that, right? But this team will go as far as the duo takes them, if that makes sense, right? Like, this is not the dream team that won the championship a few years back. They need Jamal Murray to be a stud this season if they want to be a contender. 19.5 points, I think that could be a good enough spot for him. It is pretty damn juice, so maybe we'd be looking at 20.5, which... oh wow, you're looking, if you want plus 108 for 21.5, that's not terrible, but I still think I might pay the juice there. Moving over to the Golden State side of things, Jimmy Butler over 23.5 points plus assists. You can see here the small forwards just a year ago allowed plenty of points and plenty of assists. In game number 1 of the season, he did have 31 points and 4 assists. We'd take that any day of the week. You could see here as well, Denver against the small forward position a year ago, really bad against points, really bad against assists. So that checks out from our numbers as well. So I do like the idea of Jimmy Butler today. My only concern, and I think it's a valid concern, is, okay, he went off in game 1. Do we have a Jimmy regression game? Which that would blow, right? Like, we like the idea of him, and you can see last 2 games against Denver, he did play really well. Last 10 games, he's hit this in 6 of 10, but he had 31 points in game number 1. Do we have a Jimmy Butler regression game? Do we have a Steph takeover game that would impact this heavily? We shall see. Steph Curry over in his points. Yes, we missed out by 2 points in game number 1, but I do like the spot here. You could see this is a Denver team that was middle of the pack against the point guard position, but using our dashboard here, you could see they were bottom 10 in the league in terms of 3-pointers allowed. Don't necessarily know if you want to rank there when it comes to, you know, Steph Curry going up against you. So I like Steph. And on that same note, Buddy Hield, a really good game in game number 1. Now, I don't want to say that he's going to shoot 55% every single game or 50% from 3 with 10 attempts, but 9.5 points seems a little bit low from Buddy Hield, especially, again, I do think that the one concern, and it might happen all year long with this Nuggets squad, is the fact that we have, a lack thereof of defense, I would say, on the perimeter. They don't have the guys they had years back. Now, these next 2 throw-ins, Brandon Podziemski here over 3.5 assists, 4 and 6 last time he played the Nuggets team. Against the point guard, 28. Against the shooting guard, 29th in terms of assists. If he gets his minutes, which in game number 1, I wasn't too displeased with 32-plus minutes. If he gets his minutes, right, and he plays 30-plus minutes, look at what he cashes at. 73% of games a year ago. He averaged, in terms of potential assists, 9 potential assists. And at home, it was 62%. He averaged 8 potential assists. That's plenty to go out there and get 4 assists, right? Certainly for plus money. And then last but not least, it's definitely going to come down to the minutes. Gary Payton Jr. here, or the second, 8.5 in terms of his rebounds, points, rebounds, plus assist. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. He did hit this in game number 1, but it was only in 12 minutes. I do worry a little bit about him shooting 50% from the floor. He didn't hit any threes, though, which is obviously good. But in terms of rebounds, he did have 2 rebounds, 1 assist. I don't think he's going to score 6 points again, but I could see him coming in for defensive purposes on Jamal Murray and playing a little bit more. So, yeah, a few different player prop spots that we're liking in that in that game. I'm gonna try and really hone in and find a couple that I'm liking, because again, we can't just go balls to the wall. We had our fun on night 2 of the NBA, which was the big slate reveal. So hey, it is what it is, right? We can get through it. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.